Are you ready?
Agility from the champion. Oh, deep six! That could be it. Delivers this deep six.
Good morning, Tommy. This is the
What's up, man?
All Out post show. God, it's too early. This is the All Out post show.
Yeah, man. Got a little holiday wrestling talk here.
How you doing, Tommy?
I'm doing good, man. What a weird pay-per-view we had last night, that's for sure.
And a weird aftermath, no pun intended.
Really. Man. I tweeted out or I posted out on Instagram to kind of share our podcast, and it was the talk behind this pay-per-view and the aftermath is insane. I mean, the entire wrestling world is buzzing, which I mean is whether it's good or bad, I think that's kind of what you want at the aftermath of your show. There you go. But it's man, there's a lot to get to here. It was an interesting weekend. A really overall though, a great weekend of wrestling, and I think we kind of all thought that was going to be the case, and I think every show in its own way delivered. So yeah, it was a good one, man. I like the shirt.
Coffee.
Oh, that's not what I got. But
coffee. Got my coffee. It is early. I literally just I got up at like 9 a.m. Migrated myself from my bed to my couch and went to sleep for another hour. And then I finally just set this up. So
I've been up since midnight, so thank you.
Wow. I'm gradually waking up here. So, this was a pretty interesting weekend overall.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot to cover. Good wrestling. It was a little easier to take in than the pay-per-view before Double or Nothing. The pacing was a little better. Yeah, Revolution. Pacing was a little better. But I got to be honest with you. Tom, when we get to the main event, I'll need you to steer the wheel a little bit.
Oh, boy.
Because I fell asleep during the last match.
You fell asleep during the biggest match of possibly the weekend.
I couldn't even tell you if it was a great match or not.
I saw the beginning,
and I saw the end.
Let me just say this: it was the match that should have been what we saw. It should have replaced what we saw on Dynamite, the feigned squash match, and we'll get into it. But I was mentioning to Buddy of the show, Justin, like. That squash match never should have happened. What we had last night should have been the only time that they met. If you want to do a rematch down the line, that's fine. But this match was really good. But again, the aftermath of it is both on the pay-per-view and after the pay-per-view is quite intriguing.
I'll never have a problem with any of the wrestling. The wrestling was good. The women did a good job. I don't know if you needed the storytelling of Sheeta leaving and then coming back, because then I know that kind of took the steam out of that match, and then we'll talk more about it.
That's such
then the match picked up again.
I gotta ask, before we get into it, just as a recap of this, holiday weekend wrestling that we had. What is your go-to here? We had 6 matches on WWE's main card, 15 on All Out. Obviously, AEW is building up more storylines over a longer period of time, but what do you like more? Did you like the kind of allow each match to get its own 15, 20-minute kind of ride with WWE, or did you like the kind of chaos of the 15-match card in AEW?
I would have to say Clash of the Castle.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
I have to say Clash of the Castle, because each match...
And that's not saying that All Out was bad, because it wasn't.
Not at all. Not at all.
But, those Saturday pay-per-views are just so much easier to digest.
Yeah, for sure. And Tony Khan made comments about the pay-per-views being on the same weekend. But I feel like Clash of the Castle was a little shorter, actually, not much shorter.
Yeah.
Clash of the Castle was about 3 hours and 20 minutes of wrestling, and then you had 5 minutes of nonsense with them singing in the ring. Which would have been funny if like the lights went out there and then somebody attacked Drew McIntyre. But whatever.
Yeah, the Fiend or something.
That would have been like a good spot for that, but they missed that. Anyhow. Pacing is better. The storytelling, you have a few minutes in between matches just to kind of for the fans and the viewer to get up and go to the bathroom, grab a drink, grab some food really quick in between matches. The pacing's good. Storytelling, WWE allows more time for storytelling. Video packages and whatever. AEW did a little bit better job last night, not like noticeably, just a little noticeably better with the storytelling throughout the night, but still too many matches.
I don't know about that.
AEW doesn't need to go 10 matches, 15 matches altogether for the whole night. That's a lot. There are a couple matches that could have been on Rampage or Dynamite.
And that's the thing is you have other shows. Like obviously I know AEW Dark and Dark Elevation are not, big things, but you can put some matches and make it be like, oh, well, this match is headlined by what would have been a pay-per-view match. Like this show, AEW Dark's highlighted by, I can't think of something, but there's other ways that they could have done this card and still allow each match to kind of have its own breathing room, because I feel like there was a lot of stuff, and we'll get into it, that really left me scratching my head, whether it was, the pacing of the match or, the length of it or who actually won it. There's some questionable booking decisions that I think kind of came out of the light there, but I still think that it was a pretty enjoyable pay-per-view and a really good way to kind of end off the holiday weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Overall, it's a good weekend. I got the results of NXT Worlds Collide. Some of the results I didn't watch it all, but no, actually, I didn't watch any of it. But I got a little bit of the results, so I gotta be sure to check that out. A good weekend for sure. And I think the next time there's going to be 2 pay-per-views close together. I think they have Full Gear, which is actually be in New Jersey, in a Prudential Center, announced last night during the All Out pay-per-view. That's November 19th on a Saturday. The week after is WWE Survivor Series, November 26th.
Yeah, man. That'll be a good weekend. That'll be a good 2 weeks of wrestling, I think. I think that'll both be good. Yeah, for sure.
So let's dive into it. Good show overall. Again, my gripe is they need to shorten this. They don't need they need to shorten it down to 3 hours to just kind of get the matches that, like, I don't need to see Jade Cargill on pay-per-view.
Yeah,
I don't.
I mean, she is the champion, so I understand that.
She's a TBS champion.
Correct. But I mean, if you look at it, she is kind of the face of the women's division right now when who was your champion isn't even there, and you have to have an interim match. So I do get what you're saying, and I wasn't the biggest fan of that match.
Green right now. Still green.
I will say it is nice to have 2 Black women represent, in the whole show there. I think I saw something that was like, this is the first show to ever have like 8 or 9 Black people in the show with champions or in a championship match. I think it was some record or something. And so, but yeah, that Jade match, that's one of those ones that I think that you could do on Dynamite and let it be the main event, or let it kind of be, the Rampage main event. We've kind of seen it drop off in Rampage in quality, I guess. But if you're trying to, one, build up your women's roster and also kind of have the importance around it of, hey, we don't have the TNT championship outside of Wardlow, but he was obviously in that 6-man. But, the TBS champion is supposed to be kind of our main secondary title for the women's roster. Like, that would have been a good spot. But no, I think the show started off hot. I mean, we had the casino ladder match, which is always a great choice to start off the show.
Yeah, that was my reaction. I was like, okay, good way to start out.
Yeah, and man, there was a lot going on here. I think we kind of saw the the tag team with Andrade and Rush. Saw them work together. Phoenix and Penta obviously did a lot of good spots. I like the way Dante Martin was kind of introduced, even though the when Penta came down and immediately hit the sunset flip on him, like during his entrance, the sunset flip powerbomb, I thought was hilarious. That was great. But man, we get about 15 minutes into the match, and it seems like we're kind of inching towards that conclusion, and we see about 4 or 5 masked men come out. And I'll tell you what, my first reaction was, oh, good. This is another masked men storyline. We've seen it with, Retribution. It never really seems to work out. And then you just see one of the men climb the ladder and take the chip down. Reveals himself to be Stokely Hathaway. So the rest of the guys come through. We see Big Cass.
I think one of them was one of the Gun Club.
Yes, the Gun Club was there. Yeah.
It was just random guys.
It was guys that he had handed out his card to over the week.
Yes,
and we had seen that with the Gun Club, especially after they attacked Billy.
Yep.
And then obviously last week when W. Morrissey came back. But we see another guy come down. The Joker doesn't take his mask off. Has a great song playing in the background. I'm pretty sure it's Rolling Stones.
Yes, it was Rolling Stones.
Symphony of the Devil. Great choice. I'm sure that cost a lot of money for them to get, but I think it fit the moment really well. He comes down, Chip's already out. Hathaway hands it to him. You're expecting it unmasked. It doesn't happen. So the Joker goes on to win the match right then and there. And we'll get a little development with that later in the show. But, man, it really is hard to do ladder matches, I think. I think AEW has done some wonderful, wonderful ladder matches, whether it's Casino, whether it's the beach break match with Cody and Sammy. There's been some really, really good matches in AEW involving a ladder. So there's not much too different that you can do, but I still think that this allowed everybody to shine. I'm sure I missed somebody when I was running down the competitors, but yeah, man, this was good. I think it kind of started out with an intriguing kind of, whodunit. What is this storyline going? It was a good start.
We were wondering who it was, and we'll get more into it a little later. I had my thoughts, but I was right when I saw it. I'm like, it's got to be this guy.
Yeah,
not so sure, but it's got to be this guy. And then a picture came out on Twitter, of the way he was standing in the ring. I'm like, oh, it is that guy. That's his posture.
Yeah,
that is definitely got to be him. Weren't 100% sure, but I was close to 100% sure that it was probably going to be who it was revealed to be a little later on.
Yeah, but I think it starts to show off with a lot of intrigue, and I think that's what you want to do. You want to get the people talking, and we all know Chicago is one of the best wrestling cities in the country. They're always loud. They're always just a joy to be watching from home. And I think, like I said, this was just a really good start that kind of, it's hard to keep intrigue over 5 hours. And when you can do that with this and have it pay off in the main event, and obviously we'll see what happens on Wednesday. But no, I thought this was a great choice to start off the show.
Yeah, for sure. Then the trios title was the second match.
Right? Yes. And that was an interesting choice. But I think one of AEW's best kept secrets is the fact that they really know how to keep, how do I say this? The hype growing. You start off with a really good match and you think you're going to get that kind of breather match. Like you said, the one where you can go take, use the bathroom, go get some snacks or something like that. Nope. We go right into introducing a brand new title that's, obviously has some importance to them. And we have two teams that probably 5 of the 6 guys are some of the more popular dudes on the roster. That's no disrespect to Alex Reynolds, but John Silver, Hangman Page, Kenny, and the Young Bucks. That's a great collection of talent, and we saw that shine through here.
Oh my gosh, John Silver had a great outing. Johnny Hungy.
He needs to stop being underrated, man. I love Johnny. When he almost pinned Omega, that crowd was ready to come unglued.
Yeah, you know what? He had a great showing.
The hot
I
tag was
noticed in the
great.
beginning of the match there was a little dissension going on with Hangman and the Dark Order.
Yeah.
Nothing that I really need to be concerned about at the moment, but there was some dissension there. But when that match really got going, it was just nonstop. The false finishes were awesome with Johnny Hungy. They really led you to believe that quite possibly Paige and Dark Order were going to pull this out. I mean, our original pick and I think it was obvious because rumor has it that this whole tournament was designed, for Kenny Omega and the Bucks to kind of start off the legacy of the trios title, so to speak, by being the trios tag team titles.
So let me
predicted them to win.
Yeah. What do you think of that? Do you think it's smart to have kind of that recognizable face as your first champion?
Yes.
Or, like we saw with the World Heavyweight Championship or the AEW Championship when Jericho first won it, you have that recognizable face that kind of starts the entire company. I think introducing a new set of titles that obviously is going to play some importance down the line. And, I think Hangman and Omega and the Bucks was a good choice, but I also kind of would have liked to see a surprise reign. And I think that kind of having Hangman and Silver and Reynolds, who we obviously know they've been huge parts of the Dark Order and being the elite and everything, but man,
it would have been a nice surprise because everybody
would have
expecting Hangman and Omega and the Bucks to win.
Yeah.
Would have been.
I will say this though, and I thought about it with the match on the pre-show on Saturday's Clash of the Castle. I think it was Theory and Alpha Academy versus Street Profits, and I'm forgetting who the other person was. But that's Madcap Moss. That's 6 guys that you're taking just kind of randomly. Don't have a match on the card, and you're putting them in a match that ends up being a really good, solid 12, 15-minute match. I think that's what this trios title is going to do. Obviously, we have a lot more stables in AEW, which I like. I love the stables, but it's good to see them have something else that they can kind of fall back on to where we're not seeing those same matches. Because I'm telling you, man, when you start to see the same stuff over and over again, you're starting to really get burnt out. So kudos to them for finally kind of listening to the crowd and putting in this match, or putting in this title. I mean, and again, this was a solid match to kind of continue the streak of a good start to All Out. I mean, these 6 guys really brought the house down.
Yeah, no, it was great, and I the expected team won here. I don't know how long they'll hold it for. I would presume probably a few months. But the Elite win. They're your first trios titles, and also by the Elite winning here, that makes Kenny Omega the first ever AEW Triple Crown winner.
Didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
that's
AEW
big.
Made sure to
so he'll become Grand Slam when he wins TNT title.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, again, this was, like I said, we'll wrap this one up, but it was a good match. I enjoyed it. I thought it was, a solid 15, 20-minute match. I always say that because I think that's kind of the desired length of a match that it should go. And 15, 20 was kind of what this felt like. And again, it had no complaints for me.
Yeah. We kind of shed some light on this match already. We had Athena challenging Jade Cargill for the TBS title, and we had a sloppy match, mostly on Jade Cargill's side. But we get interference from the baddies. I even put it on my notes that she looks greener than grass here. But Jade Cargill wins. She's 37-0. So she's getting the Goldberg treatment for whatever reason. I really don't know.
It's tough to think who's going to beat her.
Original reasoning of pushing Jade Cargill like this.
And here's the thing: when you have a bunch of these like ex WWE guys and girls, some of them just aren't going to get booked well, and we saw that kind of kind of later in a few more matches. But Ember Moon was such a hot commodity in NXT. We see her get brought up to Raw. Nothing too crazy, but when she made the jump, everybody's thinking, oh, she's going to be, huge in the women's roster. And it's the same thing with, Toni Storm, who we saw later in the match. But they just aren't doing anything good with her. And I thought that maybe she'd be the one who could take down Jade. It would be understandable. Like, you could make the case for it. It just, where do they go from here? Like, who beats Jade? Because if you go on your laurels and say, oh, it's going to be, Dr. Britt Baker, what's the point? What's the point of her going 37-0? I mean, we saw it with WCW. Who was the guy who beat Nash or Goldberg to end his record? Was it Nash?
Yes, I believe.
Yeah, that's the cattle fraud match.
Yeah, and that was the stun. Goldberg was given a stun gun.
Yeah, or with Taker and Lesnar or stuff like that. There's a way to build up a star, and I thought, again, and it even goes back to what we said on Saturday. You were not so against, but you kept saying Roman needs to be beat by somebody who is new and upcoming, and you could build a star with. And I thought it was Drew. It obviously wasn't, but it just seems with how depleted, how I don't know if depleted is the right word, just how kind of small the AEW women's roster seems from a star level right now. It just doesn't. I don't know. I don't know where they go.
I don't think Jade Cargill and I don't know. I don't think Jade Cargill and Athena, that awful match, is a reflection on their star level per se. I mean, just look at the other women's match, which we'll talk about in a moment. Correct. That was a banger, and there were quite a few good names of women that were not even on this card, like Serena Deeb. She had a match of the year, with Thunder Rosa and Double or Nothing. That was amazing. So there's talent there. Like we can't really knock the AEW women's division like we used to, but with the good in it, there's also the bad. And correct. Jade Cargill is she's not ready for this spot right now. And they just push her to the moon. She's got a great look. She can be a little funny backstage when she's ripping on Tony Schiavone. And she's got a good presentation. She's got physique and everything. But then the bell rings. That's the problem. It's a big problem.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with her. And
Athena was carried. I don't know if you saw that promo video package.
Yeah.
That was a really good promo by Athena. That was really cool.
Which is
she
why
carried
I felt
that.
Yeah, which is why I felt kind of confident going in that maybe she'd be the one to take the title off of her. But nope, we see Jade retain.
So we had the Jay Lethal and the Motor City Machine Guns versus Wardlow and FTR. I'm not too sure if this really needed to be on the card.
It didn't.
Just because there was just so many matches, and this is probably one of them you could have gotten away with. And maybe, AEW, what they really need to do is they really need to focus on if they're going to do All Out week in the same building, Dynamite, Rampage, and All Out pay-per-view, I think what they really need to do is kind of put better matches on for the Rampage and All Out, kind of make it like an All Out week. Yeah. And just stack, just hype up those two shows instead of doing these special themed shows twice a month or whatever. Just hype up those two shows going into All Out and make it like an All Out week and maybe like a road to All Out, and then have some of these matches that were scheduled on All Out and have them on those other two shows, correct? Rampage and Dynamite, and then shrink this card down a little bit down to 8 matches so that we can get better quality.
Not even that you need to shrink it down. It does need to be shrink down, but I think some of the matches even on the pre-show, like Ortiz and Ruby Soho versus Ty Conti and Sammy, that's something that you could put on Rampage and you're fine with it. It's 10 minutes, whatever. It's just kind of a throwaway match. Now Ishii versus Eddie Kingston, now that was a damn good, damn good match.
Oh my gosh. I mean, from a wrestling standpoint, it wasn't great.
Oh, come on, man.
But
come
like
on.
the chops back and forth.
You know I love Eddie Kingston.
Oh,
I love Ishii.
I was loving the chops, like back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah,
like, that
man.
was really
and
cool.
That was 20 minutes of just two dudes loving. We already know how much of a fan of New Japan Eddie Kingston is, of Japanese wrestling, and obviously with Ishii coming over from New Japan. I mean, these two matches, I forget when their last one was, but I know they marketed this one as number 2. Man, that was a great match. But again, like you said, this is one of those matches that I think we could have, Jade and Athena, we could have seen put on the pre-show or something. Now, and granted, that goes against what I just said on you want to make your women's roster, more important. But there's a lot more shifting that could have been done with this.
And that's another thing. Like, you don't need 4 matches on a pre-show.
Yeah, you do not.
You just need one, because that's taken away from the rest of the pay-per-view.
I'm gonna be honest. Outside of Ishii,
you're making that 4-hour show, sometimes 4+ into a 5-hour show.
Yeah,
it's taken away, and then by the time 11:30 comes rolling around, you got people like me that are like, they're in the most important match of the night.
And here's the thing: is you're also kind of devaluing one of your titles already. We had the Mid Atlantic Championship, be introduced at Forbidden Door, and what I think was one of the better matches of the entire show, which is saying a lot, and it's already on the pre-show, and it's against a re-debuting star with Kip Sabian, which again was a great match. I enjoyed it. I like Kip's new gimmick. I like his look, but I understand the argument for both sides, because you're building up over 3 months of television versus WWE's 1 month. I get that. But my gosh, it is just so hard to watch some of these matches, the way that they're, put into the card and everything. And like you said, I think that's perfect, having if you're going to market, and that's what the entire thing was. Hey, this entire weekend is in the Now Arena in Chicago. It's huge. Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, be there for all of them. Make it an all-out weekend. Make it have each card, has 2 or 3 or 1 or 2 matches on that would be pay-per-view quality matches that you're totally banking, this entire weekend around. I don't think you need to go, something big and do the trios title, but on one of those shows. But having a match like Jade in this, or the women's match, or I'm trying to think. Even something like Jungle Boy, or not Jungle Boy, Powerhouse Hobbs and Ricky Starks, that would have been a fantastic main event for Dynamite or Rampage. And it obviously would have given it a little bit more time with what we saw. So I'm fully with you, man. I think that there's a lot more that this card could have done right, but I wasn't disappointed with it at all.
Wardlow and FTR get the win. Wardlow wins with the Powerbomb Symphony on Lethal, which was good. And then you see Dax Harwood's kid come out and
break the pencil.
Take Sanjay Dutt's pencil, break it. I think Dax gives Sanjay Dutt the punch to the face.
Yep.
And then you see Dax's kid, Finley, standing tall with her foot on her chest. And with the 1, 2, 3, Finley got a win. It was a bonus match.
But and here's the thing, I'm what I'm hoping this show leads to, and I think that Wardlow's kind of title reign has been a little meh so far, just from the booking and everything. But I'm really hoping we get FTR versus Motor City Machine Guns, whether that's like a Ring of Honor match or something. I'm a fan of MG because I grew up with TNA and all that stuff. But this, again, like I said, this was just another match. It was fine, but not something that I'd be like, on any card full of 15 matches for a pay-per-view. That's the one I'm looking for. Like that wasn't it. Like, this was just a filler match that I think would have done a lot better, earlier in the week.
Then we had Hobbs and
man.
Started out hot with Starks coming in, running into the ring, and Starks and Hobbs go right at it. Starks was getting about 1 minute nonstop of offense, and then we see Hobbs take control of the match from there. This match probably went no more than 5 minutes, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. And Hobbs gets the win on Starks with the spine buster. Not sure where you go from here, but we see Hobbs with the win. This is one of those that also could have been like a Dynamite Rampage match.
Yeah.
The match didn't overdo its stay, which is good.
But here's the thing. This was the first miss on this show, and I'll say why. Yes, I'm a huge Ricky Starks fan. I love him. I think he is, like, I know he gets compared to The Rock a lot. The dude's got the character. He's got the in-ring work. Like, the dude can go.
Yeah.
When you have these blood feuds, and we saw even later in the night that I think was another miss, there needs to be some, you got to give him some time here, like 5 minutes. I get that there's probably a deeper story down the line with Starks getting the win. You know, we're wrestling fans. We've seen a good bit of everything, so we know how this works. But oh man, that passion promo that Starks had, where, you know, he was like, "You attacked me in my neck." That's where he had previous injury. Like, I thought you were my friend, and all that stuff. Man, the crowd was eating that up. Like, how do you not let this match go at least 10 minutes and you kind of just make Starks look like a punk? Like, he got his ass kicked. Like, it's just as simple as that. Like, I do believe he gets the win down the line, but a 5-minute blood feud that's been boiling over for weeks, and that's all you get. Like, yeah, I was extremely disappointed. I thought this match had a chance to be one of the better ones, not like steal the show or anything, but this match had a lot of good story behind it. I love the kind of little inner detail of Taz not really kind of picking sides, obviously because of Team Taz with these two, but
yeah,
I was not a fan of this match. I wasn't a fan of the outcome. I wasn't a fan of how long it went, and I obviously wasn't, you know, there needs to be more to this, and I'm hoping we see that.
Yeah, I don't think it just ends here. In my opinion, the match of the night, we had the AEW Tag Team Championships on the line. Swerve and Keith Lee defending against the Acclaim. Swerve and Lee get the win here, but let me tell you, this match elevated the Acclaim to another level last night.
And that is saying a lot, because the Acclaimed are over, dude. I'll be honest, I was not a fan.
Their gimmick was over, but now
correct. Now they're right. That move,
like, they showed that they belong in a high-profile tag team match going forward.
Where Caster lifted up Lee and like kind of showed off his strength.
Gosh.
My goodness, man! And that's no disrespect to Caster, but I think outside of his rapping, I always thought Anthony Bones was a better wrestler in the group. But my goodness, man! And I'll admit it, I was not a big fan of the Acclaim when they first started, but probably about 8 or 9 months ago, I started really getting into them, and then they started the Gun Club stuff, and I am really looking forward to them being tag team champions. I honestly thought it would be here. I thought they'd get the win.
Did so well.
Really, they really did.
A couple moments where you had, like, AEW had the fans eating out of the palm of their hands on this one, with the way this was booked. Like, they had you believing that Acclaim was going to pull this out.
Hey, the rap at the beginning, too. I know every rap of his is great, but he is hilarious. Max Caster is hilarious, man.
Yeah. Match of the night.
Yeah.
I'm going to go as far as saying about maybe a 4.5 star.
Yeah. I mean, and I know you said you fell asleep during Punk Moxley, and that was another good match, but I think that's 4. Yeah, I'd put this one up there. I don't think it was the best match of the entire weekend, but of the show, yeah, fully of the show, perfect. I enjoyed it. I thought, there's a lot more in there. You kind of still see you could see Lee kind of start to dig into that heel turn a little bit, and I like that because we know Strickland's a heel. Obviously, he turned on Lee at one point in the Battle Royal a few months ago, but
yeah, I remember that.
Man, this is there's a lot of story here, but man, that moment when the Acclaim win the title is going to be huge, huge.
Yeah, no, for sure. And some people quite possibly calling for Arthur Ashe.
You know what? I think that's perfect. I really do. We know Grand Slam's going to be a big show. I kind of expect that's when Punk will get MJF again.
It's possible. It's basically, MJF's hometown, really. It's like within 15 minutes from where he grew up.
I'm telling you. And here's the thing: as much as if you know me and my wrestling fandom, you know I love CM Punk. He's my favorite wrestler of all time. But if MJF does not beat CM Punk, I'm gonna bring out my own burial segment here. I know we haven't brought back the Wayne burial segment in a while, but I'll make my own because there's just no way MJF should not win this title. He's awesome. When you're getting the crowd chanting you like you are, and he's still
in Chicago,
and he flips him the double bird, and he's still getting cheered, you're over, dude. The crowd wanted that one. So yeah, I'm excited for that. But yeah, I would love to see the Acclaim win the titles also at Arthur Ashe. I think at Grand Slam, I think that would be great. That's another one of those things. Yeah. I'm sorry. Was that last year? Was that a 2-night thing? Did they have Rampage be Grand Slam too?
Yeah, Rampage.
Okay, so they'll do it again. So hopefully that means Rampage will be good that weekend too.
Yeah. AEW Women's title: Shida versus Britt versus Jamie Hayter versus Toni Storm for the interim AEW Women's Champion. This was a good match.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Shida leaving the match, and then there was a point where it was Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter 2-on-1 because even though they're individual competitors in the match, but Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker being a part of the same stable basically turned into a 2-on-1 against Storm. And then we see a little controversy too with Britt costing Hayter the match and what have you. So this basically turned into a 2-on-1, and I could tell by the fans' reaction, like it kind of took the steam out of that match for a few minutes.
And that's the thing. And it's just
like as far as like the fans go, it took the kind of steam out of the building. And then Shida came back in, and then the match started picking up again.
Yeah.
And we saw a great women's title match for the interim title.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I love Toni Storm, so Tommy time, it's perfect for me. But I think this was another example of just bad placement on the card. I think you can't really you can't predict, I guess, the kind of hype that the crowd's going to get into, especially with that Swerve in Our Glory and Acclaim match. But having this kind of follow right after with not a lot of story built behind it, and like you said, it kind of turned into a 2-on-1 for a bit. It was fine. I didn't hate it. I think the right person went over. I'm intrigued to see, what this leads with Thunder Rosa, because I don't know if you caught the media call after, which I know we'll get into. It just seems like there's a lot of backstage drama between Tony and Thunder Rosa that I'm intrigued to see how it will play out. But yeah, man, I thought it was a good match. Enjoyed some of the action here. I'm really looking forward to Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter having that little kind of blood feud. Whenever that comes through, I think Jamie Hayter's really good in the ring. It'll probably be a little bit longer before you see that. Maybe that's something that you don't do at Arthur Ashe and you hold off till Full Gear.
Yeah, I think Thunder Rosa is going to be out just for a little bit. I'm expecting Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm for the title Full Gear.
Really?
But maybe they can do because Toni Storm's your women's champion for now.
Correct.
So you don't need to rush Thunder Rosa back, but when she does, that will be the match. And I'm thinking Full Gear, possibly, because I don't think it's that significant of an injury for her to be out that much longer.
Well,
far as like maybe Britt and Hayter, that could be something we might we might see some dissensions starting Wednesday, maybe build into Arthur Ashe, maybe.
Yeah. Did you see the post media scrum?
Oh yes, we'll get into that. I didn't watch like the like I watched like the most controversial part.
So Tony says that it's not a real injury and that she's actually just running to, avoid fighting her. So that's where we kind of see it again with some other people. I think AEW is going to try and stay away from that, turning real life feuds into TV. Now we know that those normally are some of the better matches in wrestling, but it'll be interesting to see when Thunder comes back.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I watched like bits and pieces of that. I was more focused around the CM Punk part of the media scrum, which I thought was pretty interesting. Oh man.
Oh, we all were.
Yeah.
That's what I said. The talk of the wrestling world right now is on what he said. And it's
I don't even know.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to getting to talk about that.
Yeah. Christian versus Jungle Boy.
I don't. You don't want to hear my comments on this one.
Oh, we do. So the match starts out with Luchasaurus attacking Jungle Boy right away. That kind of came out of nowhere. Because it seemed to me that Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy kind of patched things up because they were like coming out together or whatever over the past last 4 weeks or so. So this came out of nowhere. Jungle Boy. At least for me, it did. You see
it did too. Trust me.
Ramp, Luchasaurus attacks him right away and chokeslams him onto the steel grate right at the top of the ramp. And then you see like the steel grate, the lines of the steel grate on Jungle Boy's back. So like Jungle Boy took a bump there. And then followed by a power bomb through the table at ringside. You got. And then, I'll get to that in a second. But you see Jungle Boy, he's out. Luchasaurus fully turned heel again. The match is still on, however. The ref rings a bell. Christian hits a spear. Then Jungle Boy kicks out. And then Christian hits a kill switch in for the win. You got Raj Giri on Twitter saying that this made Jungle Boy look weak. I'm like, no. It didn't make him look weak. He just got his butt handed to him from behind and attacked and blindsided. He was already out cold before the match. By the time the match started, it didn't make him look weak. If I was attacked and then ready to start a fight, the damage is already done. Of course. So it doesn't make him look weak like dropping him down. Like a couple notches as far as the pitch goes. Not by any means. But anyhow, what were you gonna say?
This is an F. This match is an F. It was terrible.
I think part of this was Christian's arm is injured, and maybe and then that's
that's fine. If that's the case, whatever. I know Big Show is in the AEW, but you don't need to turn Luchasaurus into him. He's turned 3 times in the matter of 2.5 months. That is ridiculous. It does not make sense. It was stupid. It was stupid the first time he turned back to help out Jungle Boy. I didn't understand it. This was a blood feud that had real life stuff going into it. I mean, we're not talking about with I don't even remember the last match. I'm so pissed off about this match. I mean, when you bring up Luke Perry throughout the build up to the show, like Christian Cage did, Jungle Boy's dead father who died, in 2018 or whatever that was. That's a pretty big deal. I mean, we saw the families get involved. We obviously saw his mom's Christian or Jungle Boy's mom slap Christian when he walked down to the entrance or during his entrance. But
that was cool.
This match was terrible. I'm sorry. I get it. I'm sure again that there's more to it, but I just don't get it. I don't understand why there was a turn, why it was so short, why Jungle Boy didn't just get his revenge and kick the absolute hell out of Christian. Where do you go from here? Like, what are you gonna do? Some stipulation, Matt? You can't. Not everything needs to be finished with the stipulation. That I know that's kind of like the end all be all, last man standing. Hell in a Cell, whatever you want to do. Sometimes just beat him 1-on-1 in a ring and let's call it. Like that should be it. And I think that would have been perfect here. And Christian is not the main event player anymore, and not that he ever really was, but he doesn't need to be at top of the card. He can still do other stuff with other people and be in a really solid place. And I think Jungle Boy is. I think Jungle Boy is a future of the business and a future of AEW. And just kind of seeing him get the story just didn't make sense. That's all I'm going to say. It was an F. I hated it. I did not enjoy it at all. Maybe they'll surprise me and do something better at Full Gear. But this was terrible.
For those of you guys that are watching, we are inching close to our main event talk, and we're going to talk about the media scrum right after that. So hang tight. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear what you guys thought about All Out and the media scrum and whatever comments you may have about this weekend. We'll take comments about WWE, whatever you want. So feel free to join in on the conversation.
Or baseball, because our teams do play today.
Yeah, pretty much. Tampa Bay Rays need to win more than the Red Sox at this point. I mean,
duh.
Unless the Red Sox are going to pull off 20 in a row, play 800-900 baseball for September, they're not making the playoffs.
I would love to, just for the story, I'd love to see that, but it's not happening.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the Red Sox will find a way to play spoiler today.
Yeah, I mean, I just want the Yankees out, so whatever's best for business.
Whatever is best. So then we're rooting for the Rays. Go Rays.
I won't be mad at the loss, to be honest with you, if the Red Sox lose. But we have Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho. Jericho came out as the Lionheart.
Yes, which I love. I'm sorry.
That's really cool.
His match with I'm already thinking him and Moxley on that Wednesday night where he challenged him to the Lionheart was perfect. I really enjoyed it, and I'm kind of digging Jericho doing the Lionheart thing.
Jericho's gotten in better shape.
Yeah, but it also plays really well into the whole, American Dragon thing with Bryan and his history and Japan and Ring of Honor and everything. I think this match was really well set up, and I thought it delivered too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Great match, some great storytelling. They made you. They cut to the back, showed Daniel Bryan watching the match on TV screen. So that was pretty cool.
Garcia, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Daniel Garcia. Hold on.
Which I think but I think that'll be that's an intriguing part of this entire storyline is whether Garcia will turn back into being like the pro wrestler or still be with Jericho and be the sports entertainer. I enjoy that little wrinkle into it.
And it was a really great match. And then we see Jericho in the corner with Aubrey Edwards, as if Jericho was gonna kind of run into Aubrey Edwards because she was in the corner where she was calling a match from at that moment, and Jericho almost runs into her, puts the foot on the brake, and then from behind, Aubrey didn't see it. But you see Jericho kick his leg out from behind and hit Daniel Bryan in the balls with a low blow.
The balls.
And then you see Jericho immediately with the Judas effect. Yeah. So it was a great match. And then it ended with the little shenanigans there.
You know what? I'll credit Jericho.
Jericho wins. But he's a heel. He's a heel.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the heel victories all the time because I think they're kind of well played out. But I will give credit to Jericho. He's done really good with his gimmick here. Yeah. However, it just kind of seems like Bryan has kind of, I don't know. Don't take this the wrong way, but I think he's kind of lost some steam since his debut. He kind of came off as when he first came out, it's like the ass kicker, the 60-minute match with Hangman and just all that stuff. And then now it just kind of seems like he's still a badass, but I think the Blackpool Combat Club has kind of just made it seem like he's playing second fiddle to Moxley.
Well, the Blackpool Combat Club, I feel like kind of sort of like each of them kind of have their own individual feuds right now.
Correct.
So
there you go, Claudio. That's who I was thinking of. Who else was in the Claudio and Wheeler Yuta? That's who I was thinking of. Who was in that ladder match?
Yeah. But I think that could all pick up steam with the trios titles now. You got all these stables have something to fight for now. So I think together collectively they can each together pick up steam. But you're right. I mean, I think you got to put Daniel Bryan like a singles program too. If you're not going to do like a singles title program, if you're not going to do like the trios program with them just yet. But
I would really love to see Claudio, Bryan, and Daniel Garcia as the representatives from the Blackpool Combat Club in the trios title. I think Moxley's still kind of in that main event level. And obviously, Wheeler Yuta's the Ring of Honor Pure Champion. So I think, whenever Ring of Honor starts, it seems like we've been talking about it forever. Like, whenever they actually get their stuff going, like, I think he'll have
once they get their stuff going, I think that's going to, once Tony Khan gets the Ring of Honor products going, that's going to definitely alleviate. Because you don't need to sign more talent from Ring of Honor.
Stop signing people, please.
You don't need to sign any more people. But with all the talent that they have in AEW, you can take a good part of that roster and shift them over to Ring of Honor.
Yep,
for sure.
Fully agree.
For sure. And then that will solve a lot of your booking problems. With because I was listening today on last night's Fightful. You can't have there are quite a number of talent that could be main event potential for sure.
Oh, for sure.
100%. But the problem is there's so many people, you can't make everybody happy. Somebody's got to be in the lower card. Somebody's got to be in the mid card.
A star.
Somebody's got to be main event. Somebody's got to be pre-show, and you can't make everybody happy.
Which is why I said that this trios title is going to do a lot of wonders for them. But also, we've been saying that for a while because we've been predicting the trios title for over a year now, and then
we've been predicting it. We've been we've
when they announced,
been hinting at it for a while,
and then when they announced the Ring of Honor deal, I think we both talked about how this is perfect. Warner Brothers owns TNT. Warner Brothers is owned by owns HBO Max. Now you got a perfect place for Ring of Honor to kind of have its live show on, even if it's a studio show. Like, do it at Daly's Place. Like, you have the place for it. We've been talking about that for a year. I think they announced the purchase of Ring of Honor. I want to say it was back in April. I feel like it was around WrestleMania season. So you'd think that would kind of already be in fruition. And it's just like, no, it's not. And then we're just keep signing new guys. And I know that one of them is rumored to be leaving. We'll get into that in a second, but can't make your roster get too bloated. This is going to become like 2000s WCW, which we know how that happened.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The late 90s. Like, let's go back to like 96, 97.
I mean, you're the perfect person to talk about it.
WCW was signing everybody.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels was offered. Undertaker was offered, and they wanted to stay loyal to Vince.
And I get it. I get that you want to bring that name value. But I think already, like, it maybe I'm wrong, but as a wrestling fan, when I see Jericho, Moxley, Punk, Omega, Bucks, Hangman, Samoa Joe, like
Adam
Cole, there's a lot of big names that AEW already has. I forget who it was. I think it was Jericho on Stone Cold's podcast who says when you're starting a company, you need 4 guys who could be, your main kind of go-tos, your big stars. Jericho, Bucks, Omega, and Cody. I mean, that's 5 right there. You have that. Right now, those names I just listed off for people who have the name recognition, I mean, it's perfect. You have the people there that can still be a viable product. Like, not every person that gets released needs to come to WWE or needs to come to AEW. Braun Strowman, I know he's supposed to be debuting, coming back tonight in Tennessee or wherever they're at. Like, great. Bray Wyatt, obviously he should not be a free agent. Whoever he ends up, that's different. But like,
I doubt Bray Wyatt's going to sign with Prince. I think he's WWE.
Oh no,
bound.
Yeah, I saw that rumor. But like,
yeah,
no offense to like
WWE
a guy like,
bound.
No offense to a guy like Buddy Matthews. I think he's great. I love him, but he doesn't need to be picked up like by AEW. He doesn't need to be made a big story of like, oh, we're picking up this guy and we're picking up Satnam Singh, the NBA player. We're picking up all these guys. Now, granted, you got to develop your roster. You can't just fully rely on WWE guys, but the talent's there. I mean, Jungle Boy, MJF is now back. I mean, there's people here that you can kind of build with everything. Like, I don't know. It just, the way that they've been handling their roster recently kind of blows my mind. I don't think that every person that gets released.
Adrian, Pac was
Pac, perfect.
Pac was a main eventer when he first when he first started. Pac was one of the main guys, and he just got knocked
he's
down.
a champion in one of the better matches of Forbidden Door with the Mid-Atlantic Championship, but he's on the pre-show. Like Kip Sabian's been out on the block. He's a great. I don't know if you've seen Kip Sabian before this, but he's phenomenal, and he's on the pre-show. Joey Janela was another great guy who I think was perfect. He basically retired to the pre-show in dark. Like, I get the over-reliance on wanting to bring in all these guys that are like, oh my gosh, I know who that is. I watch WWE. You know, I want to see if they can get better. I get that, but you have talent. You know, it's not just in the wrestling world, it's in everything. You get those established names, yeah, of course, it's great. But taking a chance on those young guys, it's really going to pay off in the end most of the time. And we're seeing it with guys like Hangman. He's a perfect example. Never really was the guy in Ring of Honor or in Japan or anything like that.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Hangman did work with Evolve too.
He did, yeah. Not the guy, the best, but he ends up, they trust him. They put him as the main guy. They put him as EVP, and he is probably one of the best pure wrestling storylines, I think, from just beginning to end, how that storyline played out over 2 years in the history of wrestling. And I'll argue that to the end. I think that was one of the best storylines ever because they trusted a young guy. That's just my 2 cents on it.
House of Black versus Darby, Sting, and Miro. We'll segue right into that. So, I mean...
Sting's up past his bedtime.
Yeah, Sting was up. Apparently, it was approaching my bedtime at this point.
Yeah, really. It's approaching mine here soon. I got to work tonight.
Oh, man. Happy Labor Day.
Yeah, happy Labor Day, really.
But Darby, Sting, and Miro. This was okay. Match to watch. We see Sting with the miss to Aleister Black's face. That caught me by surprise.
Yeah, good storytelling.
Sting was kind of acting heel like, or like a payback, so to speak. And then Darby capitalizes with the pinfall combination that he did. I forgot what they named it, but it was pretty cool. So Darby Allin gets the win. I think the right guy got the pinfall here.
Yep. Did you see the aftermath? And I kind of alluded to
so
it.
So yeah, let's talk about that. Because we see aftermath hugging it out. Well, I didn't see it, and I may have stepped away to the bathroom at this point, but I didn't see it. A lot of fans were talking about it. I don't know.
I don't remember if they showed on the
pay-per-view.
Yeah. I saw it on Twitter, but I didn't know about it.
Aleister Black hugging House of Black. The rest of like Buddy and Brody King and Aleister. Why am I say Aleister Black? It's Malachi Black, but it's just natural habit. I know him as Aleister Black. Whatever.
Correct.
But
it's like the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah. We see Malachi Black blowing a kiss to the crowd. So
there's a report from
is there symbolism there?
Good old Dave from the West Wrestling Observer saying that was indeed.
What's he saying?
He said that was indeed Malachi's last match in AEW.
Dave Meltzer said this?
Yeah, from the Observer radio.
And he took the loss.
Yeah, which is how you kind of go out. Now, here's the thing. From what I've read, and I obviously, especially working in news, if you don't know, I do. There's a lot of stuff that, it's just throwing something at the wall and hoping it sticks. I've heard a lot of it has to do with him just being beat up, but also some mental health things. And for somebody who deals with that on a very, very large amount of that kind of affecting my life and everything, like I really do hope this isn't the end of Malachi Aleister Black, but I also know how important it is to kind of kind of get yourself right. So if it is, man, it wasn't as good as I kind of would have hoped his run in AEW. But that first start in his NXT run, you know, from everything that he did, I think the music was great, the entrance, everything was great. But that run where he started with, you know, kicking Cody, kicking Arn, perfect, man. I'm hoping it's not the end of him, but I also hope, you know, in the grand scheme of things, he gets himself right, because it's no joke, man. But yeah, this was a fine match. I thought it was nothing too crazy. It'll be interesting to see what the House of Black does here.
But
I don't know who'd be the leader. Would it be Brody?
I'm not too sure. Maybe they just act as like a general tag team. You know, you got Julia Hart there,
kind of like how the Dark Order does.
So yeah, but another thing, and Malachi Black is another example of talent that is underused.
Yep, and very underused.
It's just a result of the roster being too bloated, and as a result of Khan bringing all these top stars in, and so I felt Malachi Black was kind of getting lost in the shuffle there.
Yep, he was brought in especially at the time where it was just like every week there was a new Keith Lee, Isaiah Swerve Scott, you know, just a bunch of ex-WWE NXT guys getting brought in. Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, like everybody.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Bobby Fish, Bobby Fish is rumored to
be on the outs as well.
Which is kind of, it's kind of a shame, because I feel like the Undisputed Elite, the Undisputed Elite, it's just and that was probably one of the ideas that they were going to do, is the Undisputed versus Kenny Omega and the Bucks, but anyhow, so that's where we're at with that. And you could always bring back that faction by maybe trying to get Roderick Strong, which could be very possible. Roger Strong's been wanted out of his contract for a while now, but now
we're seeing, now
with the change of the guards, that could change.
And here's the thing, and before I know what's next. The next is the main event. Before we get into this, man, and I feel like I've said this a lot recently, even honestly since the kind of the creation of AEW. Wrestling is just so freaking fun to be a part of. Like right now, it is truly become, it's not at the level yet of being like extremely, mainstream in the sense of like you see everybody wearing an Austin 316 shirt or, doing the DX suck it or whatever. Like it's not at that level right now. However, the rise of wrestling has been on in the past 2 to 3 years is incredible. The fact that now we're getting, AEW reaching its highest of highs with Punk coming back and, Rampage on that night and just the way that AEW is kind of taken the thing by storm, the Forbidden Door being broken open. And now we're having shows that they've already confirmed, Tony confirmed next year that they're already doing it. Another Forbidden Door. We're having Triple H kind of take over the regime of WWE. But even before that, I mean, who would have told me that Vince McMahon Stone Cold would be wrestling on the same WrestleMania in 2022 with Cody Rhodes there as well? Like, wrestling is just so freaking fun to be a part of right now. And I think that even looking at what happened in on Saturday, you better believe we're seeing more UK stadium shows in the next few years from both WWE,
WrestleMania,
WWE and AEW. I mean, there's something about us.
AEW is going to try to get there.
Well, you know that Khan can't because Khan owns one of the a soccer team over there. Yeah, so and we know that the soccer stadiums there are huge, obviously because they don't have professional, as they call it, football over there, or as we call it here, they don't have like the NFL and everything. But I mean, look at what the NFL's doing. Going to Germany, they sold out the entire stadium in like 3 minutes. Like there is a want for wrestling overseas. There is a hype around wrestling right now. There is, forbid me for saying this, but it is quickly becoming water cooler talk. And I mean that in the sense of just wait. If Roman holds on to the title for WrestleMania, boom, Rock and Roman is going to be huge. And I hope it isn't with the title, but either way, when The Rock comes out, Hollywood's going to be on it. Every major, network's going to be on it. WWE is obviously going to be on it. Now you got this backstage drama with, AEW going on. It's becoming what we as wrestling fans, I feel like, have been waiting for. I never got to experience it, but you got to experience it. I mean, the Attitude Era, like the craziness of this. We're seeing more signs pop up in stands. We're seeing, fans with T-shirts. I mean, I'll be honest. I think I owned probably 3 wrestling T-shirts before AEW started. I'm at like 25 now. Like my passion has just been reignited for this. And I think I speak for a lot of people in saying that wrestling is just fun. And I really am looking forward to seeing, where it goes from here. Cause it's insane how we're talking about a show that probably would be like a 7 out of 10 on best days. And it's being fully overshadowed by all this stuff going on in the background that has the wrestling world talking. That's the thing. Controversy, Eric Bischoff always said, controversy creates cash. The biggest thing that you want after your show is to have people talking about it, whether good or bad. And that is, I'm sure you've been on the internet wrestling community recently today. We're talking, man, and it is an interesting thing going on. Yeah. So this is I know we're about to hop in here to the main event. I'll let you kind of get us going, and I'll lead the way. But man, it is fun to be a wrestling fan.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of water cooled talk, I mean, I'm excited for Raw, and then I found myself talking about Raw the next day. That I can't remember the last time.
When is the last time I've actually been? I want to go home because again, I work at night, so I don't get the chance to watch it live. But I try to, hide everything. I'm actively trying to avoid spoilers. I'm trying to get away from everything because I want to see it. I want to relive that reaction. Like, I can't tell you the last time I watched Raw on a weekly basis. It's probably been since I've been a kid. And here we are. Like you said, I'm excited for Raw tonight. I'm excited, especially for Dynamite on Wednesday. Like,
yes,
this is just it is really fun. And I think you could tell by a smile on my face when I was going through that. Like, this is just it is cool to see people kind of around the world and everything just start to feel that same passion that you have for everything, because it truly is becoming mainstream again.
Oh, for sure. Jon Moxley defended his AEW championship against CM Punk. The match basically starts out with let me see. Punk, hold on, how did it go? I think Punk had the control first, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So yeah, Punk had the control first. Hit Moxley with the early GTS and teasing the crowd. This is all within like the first 3 minutes. Punk goes for the pin. Moxley kicks out. Had the crowd on the edge of the seats there. Then at this point, maybe seconds later, I was very comfortable in the chair I was sitting in, and I dozed off until the last like 10 seconds of the match, where Punk
you didn't really
got Moxley back into the GTS. So how did the match play out? For the whole middle of it, what did you think?
It was a lot of back and forth. I think it was crazy though. We're in Chicago, the home of Punk, the Second City Saint, and probably about 15-minute mark, we kind of started to see the crowd, those Moxley chants, kind of equal what those Punk chants were, which is saying something. But like you said, it was just a bunch of back and forth, a few finishers here and there, and then we see Punk kind of hit the GTS, and it leads to Moxley falling on top of him in kind of like the perfect way. He's kind of just leaned over, one arm over the shoulder, and so Punk gets up, hits him again with the GTS. I didn't think it was going to happen. I'll be honest. This result surprised me. But just like that, 1, 2, 3, Punk's your new champion. First time Moxley's been beaten this year, which is saying something, because I feel like there was a person, I'm forgetting their name, on WWE shows the first time they were pinned in 2022. Now I'm forgetting who it was. But overall, this was a pretty good match. I think the story fit. I don't think that the right person went over, despite me being a huge CM Punk mark. My thoughts on this match are just, why did we have the absolute squash that was of CM Punk a few weeks ago? And it wasn't like, a 5-minute beatdown. It was John Cena versus Brock Lesnar SummerSlam 2014. He got Lesnar. Moxley beat the shit out of him. And it was really well done. But 2 weeks before the pay-per-view is not a smart move. And you're putting yourself in a corner, which I think has kind of become a theme of AEW recently. Is they kind of back themselves into a corner and run out of places to go. And so here we are sitting, we're in Chicago. Let's give it to Punk. I don't know if that's what it was. Who knows? But what we had,
the promo went off on Dynamite last Wednesday, and Chicago looming.
Yeah, but just one rah-rah speech, and it's just like, he's the guy to win now.
Yeah, it seemed like to me that the storyline was headed to Punk getting that belt back quickly.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, we see Punk get the win. I'm cool with it as a Punk fan. Don't know what they're going to do with Moxley, whether he takes some time off to kind of be a dad, because he still is a pretty new kid with Renee. So, I don't know, man. I'm intrigued where they go from this. And then at the end of the match,
so Punk was we gotta keep in mind Punk was bloodied up, and Moxley
which is
didn't bleed at all.
Didn't get bleed. Yeah, really.
But Punk is all bloodied up in the ring celebrating, and
then
the lights go out.
And I will give them credit because I thought the way that they did this. Now, obviously, I don't know. It could actually be a real thing. It could not. Probably not. I'm probably getting worked here, brother. But the voicemail plays from Tony Khan, and he's like, "Look, you've been gone for so much. You're
we're getting worked.
We're definitely getting worked.
Yeah,
but I also, you never know. But he's like, you haven't been here so long. Look, I'll bite the bullet, pay you blankety blank, whatever you want. If you show up at All Out, I'll put you in the casino ladder match." And then you see the scarf get put on. And then I think, to me at least, MJF has one of the best theme songs in the business. When that plays, holy heck, man. The crowd goes crazy in Chicago. They are rooting for MJF, like loudly chanting his name. And it was perfect, man. I thought, granted, it was obvious. I agree. It was obvious that it was MJF. However, I think the way that they did it was really, really well done. And, he goes with the, I want the belt, it's coming home to me. Gosh, there's no way that MJF doesn't beat Punk here. Like, there's just no way that MJF isn't the winner here. So I'm excited to see where this match comes down. It goes to black as we see, MJF giving the double birds to the crowd, and they're still chanting his name. So
yes,
he's over.
I think this is ovation in Chicago.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of where we see Punk turn heel, which is great. I think that this is already kind of leading into that, and the post-media scrum was a little bit more of an indication of that. But I think that this is, somebody said it, I think we could see a WrestleMania 13 style match here with MJF becoming the face, which I don't know if would work because I feel like MJF is just that cocky heel. He just works at that spot. However, CM Punk is a much better heel than he is a face. So it'll be intriguing to see what they do here.
For sure. Well, let's talk about the media scrum. There was some controversy last night. Twitter was going wild.
Just a little.
Twitter was going wild last night. But Punk apparently made some comments. Should we go over those comments?
I think we should. He brought up a former friend of his,
Steve Colton, Colt Cabana.
Steve Colton, yeah.
I have everything basically word for word here.
There you go. Okay. So we'll let you kind of.
I'm gonna pull that up in a second.
Put the highlights here, but here's one thing I will say: if we're getting worked, great. I'm intrigued to see where it goes. But if this is an actual shoot, my goodness, this is starting to feel like WCW.
I think it's a little bit of both.
I agree. I think it's a little bit of, and obviously we saw that kind of play out in the same sense because I remember with MJF, we were when he did, calling out Tony, you F and Mark and all that stuff, like that fantastic promo. There's a thought of us like, oh, well, we're getting worked, but he's also said he wants to go to WWE at some point. So it could be a shoot. And I think it was a little bit of both. So this is, Wednesday's going to be an interesting show. I'll just put it at that. I'll let you take the lead on the post media scrum here.
Yeah. So Fightful Select reports major heat on CM Punk from the media scrum. Rumors on threatening walkouts. So basically, Punk garnished a lot of heat backstage for his comments during the post media scrum. Fightful originally reported Punk Cabana news this year and never spoke to Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks on the outside of the interviews. The story has been emerging from the talent that's been frustrated with the way things have been going backstage. And and under the impression that Punk and Cabana's ill will towards one another costed Cabana's job with that
AEW
to join with AEW. Yeah.
Yep.
So Tony Khan denied the reason that they moved Cabana due to the Punk Cabana feud that was going on. Obviously they moved Cabana.
He's now in Ring of Honor. Yeah. Which still isn't a thing. So we haven't seen Cabana in months.
Yeah, and we're told they were told that Cabana had indicated to Khan before Punk's original return that he'd likely not be happy working there if Punk was in the company. CM Punk garnered an incredible amount of heat for his comments last night. Punk ran down his history with Cabana. And
he ran it down.
Yeah,
he
ran it down. All right.
He that part of me thinks that it's a shoot. When you're bringing up lawyers and like how Cabana shares a bank account with his mom and everything, that's a shoot.
So he also targeted Hangman Page. He targeted
he did
EVPs that include Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Punk said Hangman Page went into business for himself and almost compromised the huge AEW gate, and said the EVPs linked the info. Immediately after the scrum ran, talent had informed Fightful that Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks were extremely pissed off about the comments, and one claimed that they were threatening to walk out. Fightful Select had heard prior that at least one of the Young Bucks had been in contact with talent outside of AEW, indicated that many rumors heard about Punk and the frustration around him were true. Some media believed the Elite were scheduled for the scrum, but an adjustment was made.
Yeah, that would make sense. That why? I mean, if you're the first champions of your new title, I mean, yeah.
So an adjustment was made after Punk's scrum. Punk was like the second one that went on, the first or second one that went on.
Yeah.
But that wasn't confirmed. Around then, security went around the scrum area in a hurry. A bunch of security guards.
You can see
were running.
Next was Swerve our Glory. You can see a security guard run out in a big haste. Like he's moving, to where we're leading here.
They haven't learned or determined that if it was related to the situation, but all the information filtered in all at the same time. So now, I mean,
points to there was a big fight between Punk and Ace Steel and Young Bucks and Hangman.
Fightful Select also reported that they're cognizant of work in this type of situation, which it could possibly be work, but talent that were contracted were under the impression the situation was that of a real one. So talent was convinced that this was, possibly like a real heat going on.
Correct.
One way or another. More details are going to come out.
One way or another, man. Wednesday is going to be great.
The heat between Punk and Cabana, as well as Punk towards Hangman Page, have long been real. Let me see what else we got here. Talent. There was talent backstage who were upset about the comments. But like you said, there wasn't really much else reported here from then
I think the biggest thing is
I think more things are going to come out between now and Wednesday for sure.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, just go on Twitter, type in CM Punk. There's like a 2-minute clip where he runs everything down pretty well, and I think that's kind of the crux of everything. And then obviously the fight that supposedly happened. This is huge, man. I mean, whether it's
there's a confrontation back in the wee hours of the morning, 1-2 o'clock in the morning. There's a confrontation.
If you watch Punk's comments during that 2-minute video, he interrupts Tony Khan like 3 or 4 times, and Tony's just kind of sitting there and taking it. And some people are calling out Tony for kind of like, you need to step up and shut him down. You need to take control of your company, and we've heard that that's. In prior months, that's kind of thing is just that like Tony's more of a fan than a boss, which obviously wouldn't mix well. So, I'm not going to comment on this because I truly have no idea. And the reason I'm saying that is just because, look, I've been a wrestling fan for 20 years now, and I've seen a lot of stuff. I don't know if I'm getting worked or if it's a shoot. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I love CM Punk. He's my favorite. I think he did kind of go into business for himself. Yeah. But in the same vein, so did obviously Hangman Page. So did Punk in rebuttal when he called him out and he didn't show up in his return. Whether this was a real fight or whether it wasn't, let to be known. We're seeing it with Toni Storm, calling out Thunder Rosa, saying she's scared to fight her. That's not a real injury. This post-media scrum was...
I'm not even too sure if they're going to do a post-media scrum next time. They probably will.
Really. But that's the thing is, like, the scrum is getting more comments, and rightfully so, but, like, it's getting more reaction from people than the show itself. So, like, that's the thing is, like... There's questions regarding where does AEW go from here from the show standpoint on Wednesday. But now we're looking at it and like, what's the future of the company? Are people, there's a report, I know you read it, that Fightful Select said that some people were like threatening to walk out, and like, that's huge. I mean, it's water cooler talk, man. And that's what we want. Good or bad, we want people talking about the show. And that's obviously what we're doing right here. We're almost pushing 90 minutes here.
And Tony Khan, to get away from the CM Punk talk, we'll get to see how that plays out by Wednesday. But Tony Khan also made some comments about WWE, how he doesn't feel that it's a coincidence that WWE had their pay-per-view booked a day before AEW All Out.
Nope, I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. I love Tony Khan. I love AEW.
And he was like, I'm not going to take that crap. He was pissed. Like, he feels All Out did good.
Correct.
He feels All Out did good, but he feels that it could have done even better.
All Out is a Labor Day pay-per-view. We get that. It's falling on the same day. They're falling on the same area. Yeah. Clash at the Castle is, say what you want, whatever. Whether it happened for a reason. Nobody is sitting there saying, well, WWE went head-to-head with AEW, for this weekend. Everybody is saying WWE just had their first stadium show in the UK for 30 years and absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
It's not about what the place. It could have been next week, man. And that if that same show happened next week, we'd be talking about it just the same. It's not about that. It's there's I love the pointing fingers. I think the whole competition between this is great. Obviously, we know competition brings out the best in you, but I'd be remiss to say AEW better watch out, because WWE is on a hot streak, and
and it's only gonna get better either. It's not
exactly. If you want to do the Rudy Tooty Shooty promos and all that stuff, that's great. If this is a far long work, that's great too. I like being surprised. It's hard to surprise a wrestling fan who's obviously been a fan of the business for most of his life, and obviously I could say the same for you, but we're not in late 2020, where we're still doing, the COVID stuff. WWE is just, it's a slog to get through every week. Like you said, this is one of those things where I'm wanting to watch Raw. I'm wanting to watch Dynamite now, especially. I'm wanting to watch SmackDown to see what they do there. I'm invested again in wrestling. So, the pointing fingers, you can only do so much, but
and
AEW
also
needs to watch it.
Tony Khan went on record this weekend saying that he loves WWE, he loves what they're doing there, but the love that he's shown from WWE has not been reciprocated back. And there was a report even a couple days ago saying that now it's a little more less likely that Khan won't do a program with WWE in the future. Which could also be a work too.
I mean, that sucks. I'd love to see that.
I'd love to see that for sure. I would like to see they do. I would like to see it happen on both stages. WWE do like a program with AEW, on WWE programming, and then AEW maybe do something with WWE Forbidden Door.
Here's the thing. I think if that ever does happen, that is when if it hasn't happened already, that's when you break mainstream. I mean, that is when you get to the whole, in AEW, New Japan was a pretty well talked about thing. I think that got a lot of hype in itself, but AEW, WWE, I mean, that's different. We never saw it with AEW or WWE TNA. Like, that's a huge deal. However, I think you just need to start worrying about your own company, man. Like, I'm not sitting in that spot for a reason. I don't want to be in that spot, but I mean, there's a time to be a fan. There's a time to be a boss. I don't think Tony Khan's doing the best job of it. And this is coming from somebody who is a huge AEW fan. Let me just put that out there. I'm sure everybody knows that, but I love AEW. I love WWE just the same, but There's a lot to this that I'm intrigued by. But again, that just goes back to the whole thing that I think I started this show with is we're sitting here talking about it. We're sitting here intrigued about it. Like, I want to know what happens next. And that's what you should be doing. Now, if it leads to what, happened with WCW or, and I'm not saying the AEW is anywhere close to that, but there is intrigue around the wrestling business, and I think that is just great.
Oh, for sure. Like I'm excited to see the fallout from each of the shows that happened this week. You had the pay-per-view of All Out yesterday, so I'm interested to see what the fallout's going to be Wednesday and Friday. You had the pay-per-view Clash of the Castle. I'm interested to see what the fallout is tonight.
Even with Friday. With NXT UK. I mean, now we're not getting NXT UK anymore. We're getting NXT Europe. So
now NXT Europe
to.
So we got NXT on Tuesday. Is there going to be a time slot for NXT Europe?
I think that it's a Peacock show. If I had to guess,
is it NXT? It's NXT UK has been on Peacock the whole time.
Yeah, I think that's where you stay. I think that just works. Yeah. And that's why I said that Ring of Honor would work perfectly on HBO Max. I mean, I know HBO Max has kind of been in the news for the wrong reasons recently, but I mean, it fits. And that's the fans who want wrestling are going to seek it out, man. That's about as easy as it gets. But, there are people each week who are going to say, I don't care what happens. I'm a wrestling fan. I want to go out and watch it. Granted, I've not been that recently, at least in the last year and a half, but in the last half year, probably since Mania or so, dude, you better believe every day I come home from work, I'm hopping in the gym, getting on the bike and turning on wrestling, whatever I can to watch it. And that's what you want. You have fully created this market to where, I mean, come on, it's even affecting the video games. Like, people are like, oh, I don't want to play AEW Fight Forever because 2K22 is the best. You want that. Like, you want the competition. You want each company to bring each other up. So, if one company is having this great success and all you're hearing is, oh, USA Network's hyped, about the wrestlers behind the back scenes are really excited about the change. Triple H is doing interviews where he's talking about, like, everybody wants to just be a part of it. We want to get all these new guys coming in. And then on the other side, you got all this animosity, whether it's a work or a shoot, good or bad. You got both sides right there, but it gets the people talking. And that's what we want, man. Controversy creates cash. We're at the 90-minute mark right here. I've been saying it from the beginning. We are talking. And that is what wrestling fans want. It's what wrestling on Reddit, wrestling on Twitter, everywhere. I am so intrigued for this weekend of wrestling, for this week of wrestling, just from what we already know might happen. I mean, to be honest, we've heard reports that Braun's coming out tonight. He might not even show up, but you better believe I'm going to be watching just to see if he does. I want to see what CM Punk's got to say to address these rumors on Wednesday. I want to see what Roman Reigns has to say on Friday. Like, this is what I've been grasping for
a lot
years.
A lot of people like for those of you guys that are watching, if you go through Twitter today, like, the IWC is just buzzing right now.
Buzzing,
especially from the media scrum last night. I'm hoping we can get our own media scrum invites eventually. I'm trying, and I'm gonna keep trying. We're gonna get in one of those media scrums eventually, hopefully sooner than later. But yeah, maybe next year in Chicago.
Ooh,
great.
Yes. Hey, man, next year we're going to be in Philly. I'm going to that. I'm already saving some money for Philly.
Yes. WrestleMania in Philly. Like, I'm like literally LA. Those tickets went on sale much sooner than I thought. I mean,
and that's
still a possibility that I may go, but Philly is
crazy.
Definitely happening.
Because I think about it, and like, you being in New York, the closest pay-per-view in most recent, most recent times to you, it's 35.
Yeah.
The most recent show to me outside of New York, with Philly now being the closest, is 23. This is 17 years in the making, man. I've never been to WrestleMania. It'll be WrestleMania 40. I mean, but that's the thing. It just flows right back into it. I'm talking. I'm passionate. I'm happy. I'm talking about wrestling. Like, this is what I've been yearning for years as a wrestling fan, is just to be able to really be able to share my excitement for it. And in past years, it hasn't been there. But, I mean, you can see it on the smile on my face, and just the amount of times that we've done this show, or we've done a recap or whatever. Like, wrestling the last few years has just been – I think our podcast got into it at the perfect time. Like, I think that we hit the stride perfectly, and now we're just kind of riding the ride of everything. And I'm so here for it.
Those of you guys that are watching, thank you so much for hopping on. We will announce our next episode. We're trying to work out the Spotify issue that we're having, and just to stall a little bit to hopefully get a good guest on as far as episode 100 goes. So we have about 3 more episodes to fulfill before we get to that. Had we been doing a podcast every week, then we'd probably be at 100 already, but or even past that. But
some people got to work at night.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
But due to the whole Spotify thing, we're trying to get those kink worked out. We're kind of trying to stall a little bit to get like somewhat of a good guest on as well. So we will announce our next episode, those of you guys that are watching. But make sure you guys stay linked in, connected. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and leave a like, leave a review. Those help us out a lot. And also stay linked in with Twitter as well. We'll as soon as we get our next episode, which I believe might be this weekend, but we will keep you guys posted.
It sounds like
so make sure you guys stay connected.
Friday or Saturday night or something like that. Finally feels good to have a week off, at least some time off.
I need it. This is my week off. I'm gonna chill.
You got the whole
hang
week.
Out.
I
back
hate
to
you
work
for
next
that.
Monday, 12:30.
Next Monday, man. I'm back to work tonight at 10 p.m. Man, I got to work in like 9 hours.
Well, Tommy, get some sleep, get some
That's
relaxation.
Right. Hey, thanks, man.
Hope you enjoy the rest of your Labor Day. Those of you guys that are watching, thank you so much for hopping on, and you guys all have a great.
Hey,
Labor
thanks for
Day.
joining us, everybody. Let's have a good one.
Peace.
Agility from the champion. Oh, J6! That could be a delivery.